Hey everyone, good to see you. Today we're going to be discussing using electrical estimating reports to maximize your profits, and we're hoping that the takeaways today will give you some best practices for maximizing the accuracy and the competitiveness of your bid, and with a focus on material pricing and managing the material pricing side of your bid. Um, and today, Brian Hoffelder will be leading that discussion. But before I turn it over to him, please like and subscribe on this video. It helps us a lot. And also, there's a chat on the right side. Go ahead and throw your questions over there whenever you like. We're going to try to wait more towards the end to get to some of the questions so we could stay on topic. So if your question is slightly off topic, I'm going to get back to it, but it might be at the end. So hang in there. All right, let's go ahead and roll tape, Brian.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody. This is the little webinar we're doing on pricing. One of my impressions, let me go back a step here. One of my impressions over the years helping people with bids is sometimes you get down to the final steps of putting the bid together and the pricing kind of gets not ignored, but not prioritized. We just kind of take it for granted that we've got accurate competitive pricing, and there really are a lot of tools in EBM to evaluate and get your pricing as accurate and competitive as possible. One of the main areas of putting a bid together is what we call quoted materials. So the typical quoted materials you would see on a job are lighting, switchgear, lighting controls. Typically, you're going to need to get a quote from your suppliers on that. The program EBM and probably all the other estimating programs just put in the labor for those items and any other materials related to that that you need to get need to install the materials. But the basic lighting package, the basic switchgear package, lighting controls, if there's cable tray, if there's bus duct, those kind of things are typically the kind of things you need to get a quote from your supplier on. So one of the things you need to do, and typically people want to do this right away when they start, as soon as they can, when they get into their takeoff and their estimate, is submit the counts and whatever drawings the supplier needs to see. So there's a couple of reports in EBM I'll show you real quickly. Again, I find sometimes it's kind of a little surprising to find some of the reports people don't know about in EBM.
You want to give a little background on what EBM is?
EBM is the Electrical Bid Manager program from Vision InfoSoft for electrical estimating. So basically, the idea is that the user inputs the quantities of all the things that go into his bid, counts all the outlets, measures all the wiring, and the program assigns pricing to most of the or a lot of the materials, but not the quoted items and the labor too. So that's the whole idea of a electrical estimating program, is to generate material cost and labor cost. So in this little bit I've got open here, one of the reports, actually, we got a combined report if I get my mouse in the right screen here. There's a quoted material. You can either do lighting by itself, gear by itself, or you can combine all the quoted materials on this option under reports here for quoted material. And down at the bottom it says quote report. And then I can tell it if I want to do the individual quotes for lighting, fixtures versus distribution, or in this case, I'm going to combine them. And you just hit OK. And it generates a nice little report that you can send off to your supplier. The other thing you want to send them are the drawings or the pages from the drawings, or give them the whole set of drawings with the information that's pertinent to the lighting and the gear. So if you're using electronic takeoff, for example, you want to send them the panel schedules, you want to send them the lighting schedule. So whether you send them just those sheets or whether you send them the whole job, that's up to you, but they're going to need that information to give you a quote. EBM takes care of the counts that you put in, and it takes care of the labor on all those items, but you're going to need to get a quote from your supplier on those types of items. So it's appropriate to send them the EBM reports and the sheets from the drawings that they need to see to give a quote to you. Let's see if we get back here. Another little topic on this that I run into is, how many suppliers should you get quotes from? I think 3 is kind of an ideal number. I see people that want to send, get quotes on the lighting and gear from half a dozen or more suppliers, or a lot of the time they only get 1 or 2 quotes. If you only get 1 or 2 quotes, obviously you're taking the risks that you may not be getting a competitive quote. The problem with doing too many quotes is you've got too much information to evaluate. Some of these quotes can be pretty detailed. If you've got 20, 30, 40 different fixtures, or more importantly, if you've got switch gear with some panels and some main switch gear and some disconnects, you want to make sure that they've priced all the items that you're pricing in your estimate. Now, a lot of the times they will send you a bill of material with the specific items that are in their quote. And ironically, even though the electrical contractors work pretty hard to get the information out to the supplier as quickly as possible, typically you won't get those prices until very close to bid time. They're pretty careful about not throwing their price out on the street so somebody can beat them on the quote. But again, not too many suppliers, not too few, and it's an important part of your bid. The quoted material can be 30, 40, 50, 60% of the whole material cost. So if you're not getting good coverage there and you're not um, getting accurate numbers, then that's going to break down your whole material pricing from the beginning.
I have a question, Brian.
Yeah.
Back to that one. What can you describe what kind of bids, or range of bids that this applies to? I know it's probably a very broad range, but it's commercial mainly, right? Or is
Commercial,
this
industrial, maybe high-end residential, multifamily
okay?
residential. The only time that people really don't get a quote on it would be if you're doing just a really typical residential job, a tract home or a small residential project. You can price those kind of things pretty easily. But anything in the commercial world, even if it's a $2,000 job, you still probably need to get a quote on the gear and the lighting, even though it's not a lot. You don't want to guess at that stuff. Every time I try to guess on the cost of a light fixture, it's totally wrong. I mean, I can be 3 times the price or half the price. Same thing with switchgear. Switchgear is really tough these days. I had somebody get a quote on a 400 amp panel or something, and it wasn't a real typical panel, but the supplier quoted them $8,000. Now, I don't know what was wrong with that. There probably was a mistake, but you really need to not guess on your quoted materials. But again, it could be any kind of commercial, high-end residential, industrial job. You need to get quotes on those kinds of materials, the lighting and the gear specifically.
Okay, good. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, so the rest of the material is what we call non-quoted in Electrical Bid Manager. Let me just flip to a screen real quick so I can make sure I'm being clear about the difference. Where's my EBM screen? Oh, there it is. So in the job totals here,
It's taking it a second.
Yeah. So here's the quoted material. I manually put that in. The program puts the price in on the non-quoted material. So the non-quoted material is basically your conduit, your wire, all of your standard materials. So what that looks like, I'll show you the job extension. It's just a breakdown of all the materials in your bid. Like a 2.5-inch EMT, we've got 310 feet, the price, the extended price, and there's labor on each item too, but basically it's the price in this column here that we're evaluating as far as being competitive and accurate. Now, let me just check my outline real quick. So one of the things you're doing here is looking for outliers. If there's something that's just way out of whack, and you can scroll up and down this report here, looking for numbers that are really high. And then if you don't think there's a good reason, like I've got some 12-2 luminary cable here, I expect that to be a big item. I've got 12-2 regular MC cable. I've got some bigger wire up here, some 3/0 wire. I've got $6,000 worth of that. I've got $12,000. So I expect those numbers to be outliers or on the high end. But there's a great report in EBM that helps you find those items rather than scroll up and down the spreadsheet. It's called the item cost report here. And it lets you sort by price. So what it does is it pulls the biggest total dollar items up to the top of the report. And so this is really the kind of thing you might expect. You'd expect to see any large wire or even branch wire like MC cable or number 12 wire. Those things you'd expect to be at the top of the report. So this is a real easy way to isolate the big dollar items on your bid. That's the item cost report I just showed you. The other thing you want to make sure is that, and again, I find this sometimes that people aren't paying attention to whether their prices are getting up to date, updated by Epic. So in EBM or Epic, there's two places to check. Under Help and About, it shows you the Epic issue number. So that 24-22. 24 is the year, 2024. 22 is the 22nd week of the year. Now, I get weekly updates on Epic, so this number goes up once every week. And it shows you that I ran the update, I guess that was Wednesday. So that these numbers will change constantly. Now, they should match what you have in Epic. And again, this basically takes place behind the scenes. But in Epic, we've got Help and About. And you'll see my issue number is the same, 24-22. Okay. So we want to make this sure the date and the issue numbers are the same. Now, if you, with Epic, it downloads automatically. So if you have the Epic program, the subscription, once a week, it'll download and it'll bring you to this screen right here. You'll come to your computer and you'll see this little update screen. And all you have to do is hit update, or in this case, I have two programs. I have the EBM electrical estimating and the time material billing. So I would just hit update all, and it will take care of updating the prices. If you miss a week or a month or several weeks because you're out of the office or whatever, you just need to do update and it'll catch you up. It always does a complete update of the system, whether you missed a week or a couple of months, it doesn't matter. Now you can run the same update from within EBM. I kind of prefer this. It seems to be a little quicker. But under database up here, you've got update from Epic right here, and it does the same thing. So it pulls the prices out of Epic versus the opposite. If you run it from Epic, it pushes the prices from Epic into EBM. Epic has about 2 million items. So the items that are in EBM are a subset of that, roughly about 10,000 items, depending on some of the options you may have with your database as far as specialty databases. But the basic core of the electrical items in EBM is about 8,000 to 10,000 items.
Mm.
Now, one of the reasons I showed you that item cost report, though, is, and I'll have to credit one of our sales reps because he's mentioned several times what he tells his customers or his people who are looking at the system is to check the prices in the top 5 items. Again, on the item cost report. Let me flip back there real quick again. When you run the price update, it closes all the jobs. So again, it's those top 5 items that are probably going to be critical. So just check those top 4 or 5 items and then let Epic take care of the rest. Okay. I think if you try to be really diligent and get pricing on every item, you're going to spend a lot of time and not a lot of value. Concentrate on those key items. So the price we're looking at, just to kind of step back a little bit, is what we call the target price in EBM and Epic. The target price should be close to what you buy from your local wholesaler. So if you do find a price that you want to edit, all you do is double click on it. And you change the target price. Now, just a little bit of advice here. let's say I know I can buy that item for $550 for 100 feet from my local supplier. Um, I would typically split the difference. I wouldn't go all the way down to my best possible price today because you still need a little bit of cushion here. Prices could go up between now and the time you need to buy the material. It's just a good practice to have a little bit of cushion there. So I might make it 575. I'm going to type the right keys on the keyboard. That's all you do is type in the price, hit save, and then when you hit refresh, it'll update the price. So what you're comparing is the Epic target price to your local supplier's pricing. It could even be a one of the big box stores. I've always used the prices from Home Depot and Lowe's as kind of a benchmark. Um, so again, here's 3/4 inch EMT in EBM and Epic. It's $98.69 per 100. I think I did a little search here real quick. This is the Home Depot price. It's really close. Now your local suppliers might do a little better. They might be a little higher, but over the years, typically Home Depot is very competitive on these commodity kinds of things. Sometimes your suppliers can do a little better, sometimes they can't. But at least it's a benchmark comparison price. So it's always it's always an option to go look at the big box stores and see what their prices are. I think I check Home Depot and Lowe's fairly often, and they tend to be running pretty close on these kinds of things. Most of you probably have access to at least one or more local suppliers' websites. One of the really popular ones out there is Platt. You don't have to be a Platt customer to look up prices on the Platt website, but just be aware you're not going to get the best prices compared to a customer who has an account with them. Now they're up in the Northwest, so if you're in Florida, you're not going to get probably an account with Platt, but it's still a good benchmark. Platt has a good website. Most of the electrical wholesalers now have websites where you can just go in and look up pricing. And then you can just look up random pricing online. I like to do this on sometimes when I'm helping somebody do a bid and we come across an oddball item. We'll just go look it up. Let's see if I can find my example here. Here's one of the ones I use as an example here. So if you know what an audiovisual backbox is, I wasn't quite sure what the customer was looking for the first time they said they needed to put one into a bid. But once you see it, you'll recognize what it is. So let's say this is what we're looking for here. Now this went to the Amazon website. Let's go back and see if there's one of the suppliers here. There's one from Crescent. That's a different box. Here's one from Gordon. That's always an interesting one. So I'm going to go look at the same box on the Gordon website. Now, again, I don't even know where Gordon is, but it'll give me a price. So the price here is $45 each. If I want to check that price in Epic, I just copy the catalog number to the clipboard, go back into Epic, and use the lookup by catalog number and paste it in. Now in Epic, it's priced per 100. So this is a $3,600 per 100, which is $36 each, compared again to the Gordon website, which is $45 each. So that's the danger and something you need to be aware of. I'm sure you have if you've done it before. When you look up just random pricing online and it goes to like Gordon or Grainger or just one of the other random suppliers' websites, the pricing will typically be all over the place and typically be high. So the Epic price is usually a much better benchmark. This $36 is more competitive number. Now, if you only need a couple of boxes on the job, it's not going to make or break it. But if you're trying to put a couple hundred of them into your bid, then it might be something you want to pay more attention to. So that's kind of my spin on pricing. Most of the kind of questions I'm addressing are the things that people bring up, and when I'm helping people put bids together, or questions I get during training sessions. These are the kind of things I've seen over the years that I try to steer people to help them with. How are we looking at questions there, Derek?
Yeah, no questions so far, other than the ones I've been firing at you.
Okay.
What was the name of that report again? The item cost report?
Yeah.
Do you find that our users are already using that in some way, or are they unaware that it exists?
I think they're kind of unaware that it exists. That's why I always try to
Right.
point it out in training sessions, especially if it's space for it to look at. And again, it's really a quick way to hone in on the key items.
All right. And just a warning, I think we're about ready to wind this up, but I've been cutting in and out myself, which is
Oh, really?
You haven't. I think I have.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is okay because I'm not the one talking.
But right now it's fine.
Yeah. So no questions. Again, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to get alerts in the future about our upcoming videos. And if you have any questions, we're displaying our contact information right now. Go ahead and you can give us a call, or maybe a little better, just emailing sales@visioninfosoft.com. We have multiple people that monitor that email, and we'll be happy to help you.
The website also has all kinds of general information. It's got some demos. It's got information on all the products. It's got training options. We do a lot of one-on-one online training. We also do virtual classrooms where we have several customers in a virtual classroom. We have the schedule. Those are pre-scheduled, so you can get into those. Usually there's a couple of those a month, introductory and a little more advanced training. And then we can also do just individual training with anybody who has a particular need, either maybe to customize the program, and then we also do on-site training too. So lots of different training options.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you monitor labor hours or labor hour?
I'm not sure what the word monitor means. Does it mean track the hours? I mean, the program gives you the hours just like it gives you the material. I'll go back to the job extension here. So these are the labor hours. Let's just take a real basic item like half-inch EMT. That's the quantity, the length of the half-inch EMT. That's the pricing, $55.85 per 100, which extends to $1,061. Then labor is 2.5 hours per 100. So that's a total for this item of 47.5 hours. Now, I'm not sure I'm understanding the word monitor. The program doesn't monitor labor. You have to do that with your time cards and your reports that the electricians give you from the field.
Yeah, he said track for profit. Does that come into most of the time that's an external system, right?
Yes.
Like a job cost module or something.
Right. Exactly.
And
the program will give you the numbers to track.
Right.
So typically people break it into what they call cost codes or phases. So like in this little sample job, my total labor for this phase called above ground branch raceway is 262 hours. For the whole job, it's 1,300 hours. But the only way you can track that, so to speak, is if the electricians are reporting their hours at least for the job versus just 8 hours a day. They break it into what job they're working on, and then you can take it a step further and record it by the phase and the cost code.
And he had a follow-up question, or that was, are you in the cloud yet? And so the answer is technically yes. We have partnered with a company called V2 Cloud, v2cloud.com, and we have many customers that run our existing software in the cloud, so you can access it from any device from anywhere. We're also going to be making a bit of an announcement at the trade shows this fall. So it's probably going to be cloud related. So we'll be in San Diego at the NICA show this fall, and in, where's it?
Tampa.
Florida. Tampa, Florida for the IEC show. And we will have something to show. I don't want to get into too many details yet because we don't know how much we're going to have to show yet, but there's new things in the works that are cloud related, like pure cloud play instead of running our desktop on a different platform in the cloud. But we do have a lot of customers that successfully use our software in the cloud through our third-party partner V2 Cloud, or other, whatever your IT company. If you have an IT company, many of them have a recommended vendor to run Windows software on the cloud. And it's not that expensive, really, the add-on cost to do it for the utility you get. But we will be making an announcement soon. Okay, let's go back to Phil's question. Where do the labor hours come from that are default within EBM?
Again, I was trying to keep this to the material pricing, but labor hours
Okay.
in EBM, there's 3 different categories of labor up on the job extension report here. The default is what we call column 2. There's 3 standard columns, columns 1, 2, and 3. 1 is the lowest. So if you've got a job that you think is incredibly easy and you've got your best crew available and there's no foreseeable glitches in the job, then you might go down to column 1. I really caution people to do that. Column 2 is more of a standard average value for labor difficulty. So most new construction would fall into column 2. And then if you go up to column 3, that's the highest difficulty. So that would be appropriate for obviously difficult jobs, maybe for change orders, anything where you're not going to get your normal or best productivity. So we have developed column 1 and 2 on our own over the years. If you're asking where they come from, we've developed them with feedback from customers and massaging the data over the years. Column 3 comes from the NECA labor manual. The NECA labor manual is the labor manual published by NECA, National Electrical Contractors Association. People think of it as a union base. It's not. It can be, anybody can use the numbers in the NECA labor manual. But everybody understands that the numbers in the NECA labor manual are conservative, makes them acceptable a lot of the time for change orders. And again, I would use column 3 either for change orders or for difficult jobs. So that's where column 3 comes from. Column 1 and 2 we've created on our own.
All right. I think that covers that one. What's the name of the cloud partner? Is V2 Cloud. I just chatted the URL, v2cloud.com, V like vision, 2, the number 2, cloud.com. And we had another question. Can the software be used outside the US market?
That'd be difficult. Canada is probably about the farthest I would stretch that, because a lot of the materials they use are the same or very similar. I'm not too familiar with Mexico. I know they do use some of the same materials, but when you get into the European markets and the Asian markets, it's from my understanding, it's quite a bit different. So no, you can't use it.
Right. We're using Imperial units. And if your country uses Imperial, then you can add your own items. That's one of the flexibilities of EBM, even in the US market. If you don't see an item, add it. You can add it yourself. You can use Epic to add the item. If we have over 1.7 million electrical materials in Epic, which are mostly U.S. market materials. But you can add your own items and build your own section of the database. We have a lot of customers that do that. When you first start using EBM, you probably are going to use what's in it. And then as you start getting used to it, you start adding items that maybe you want to have in there instead of the vendors that we have already in there for you. So I know we have customers, Brian, in like, I believe Puerto Rico and.
Yeah, again, that's pretty much U.S. products, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the electrical infrastructure in your country is the same as the U.S. based electrical, then
I've worked with
it works
several
best.
electrical contractors in the Caribbean and Puerto Rico and all that, and most of them actually buy their materials in the U.S. or they buy them from suppliers who are based in the U.S.
Yeah, he says that he's in the Caribbean. So give us a jingle. Email us at sales@visioninfosoft.com, and Jim Hertel will reach out to you. And we have customers in your area more than likely. All right. Let's see. I think that covers it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for the questions, guys. We appreciate it. And we're looking at doing another joint webinar next month with another electrical estimator. So we're trying to get some other what would you call it, views on what's important to electrical estimators. Trying to come up with some fresh topics, some topics that will interest you. So be sure to share any ideas you have as well, or if you think you might be a good candidate to join us. We'd love to have some new people join us in these. Anything else, Brian?
Not for me. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
All right.